Do you feel blue? Ask your person beside you, do you feel blue? And look at his and her eyes, whether his eyes is smiling or not. Do you feel blue? Blue is associated with sadness. Why sadness? Because sadness is associated with calm water. Like the sea, di ba? Blue yan. But in most cases, blue color is stability and bad times. Right? Even songs, they associate the blue color with songs, di ba? I have a blue, blue Christmas without you. Love songs. When I'm feeling blue, all I have to do is take a look at you. Then I'm not so blue. Di ba? What makes people feel blue? There's a lot of things that makes people blue. Right? Chronic illness. Somehow it makes you feel sad and blue because you can no longer eat the food that you want to eat. May sakit ka na eh. Di ba? Mataas ang sugar mo, tama na yung kanin, isang kutsarang kanin lang, tapos na yan. You're craving for something, for a food that you want to eat, those favorite food, but you cannot no longer eat anymore because it's bad to your health. Loss of job. You feel blue if you lost your job. You know that you're paying a lot of debt. You know you're paying your loans. You're paying your houses. You have a tuition fee to pay. You still think of your loved ones in the Philippines. And then all of a sudden, you lost your job. You feel sad. You feel blue. Right? Family conflicts. Nobody wants family conflicts. We love each other. We help each other. We don't want that. But somehow, makes you feel sad when you have a conflict with your family, feeling hopeless. You're doing everything that you could, but sometimes nothing is happening. You've been working here for 10 years, 15 years, and something's not happening, nothing good for you. You feel it. Irritable, anxious, stress, looking at your employer, looking at your boss, looking at your work. Diba nga, pag Monday, wow, you will cry, it's Monday, urgent leave, MC. You don't like Monday, and you hate Friday also. Stress, di ba? The person beside you, sa colleague mo, sa work mo, your neighbor, there are a lot of things that makes people sad. Feeling worthless. You want to help, you want to do something, but nothing you could do. Feeling worthless. Sadness actually is a normal feeling. Everyone feel sad, right? But if we let sadness dwells in our hearts and in our mind, it will end up to depression and emotional distress. Right? So depression and emotional distress is not new in our time. It is as old as human history. If you can remember, if you recall in the Bible, there are many Bible characters who had a depression, who had emotional distress, like Elijah. Elijah, he even asked God to take his life. He was depressed. Jonah was so depressed and emotionally distressed because God spared the life of 120,000 people in Nineveh. So he was so angry to God because God spared them. Church leaders, Martin Luther, Charles Spurgeon, they also experience depression and emotional distress. World leaders like Churchill and Abraham Lincoln, they are great leaders, and yet they experience emotional distress. So there's no exemption in this kind of feeling. We all feel sad, that's normal, but if we let it dwell in our hearts and minds, it will end up to emotional distress and depression. But how do you feel God? How do you experience God in times of depression? Have you experienced God? Have you feel where God is? And when you are emotionally threatened, how are you supposed to deal with it? Do you deny it? Kamusta ka na? Okay lang ako, huwag mo intindihin. Basta kain lang ako ng kain. You're not okay. Or do you fake it? Kamustahin mo nga yung katabi mo ulit? Kamusta ka na? Pag nakita mo malungkot ang mata, hindi siya okay. Pag sinabi niya, okay ako, hindi totoo yan. Magsabi ka na, hindi ka okay. If someone asks you, how are you? I'm fine. But inside you, you are crying. You deny it, you fake it. But when you get home, you fake it. And you deny it. I would like to share with you our conversation about the experience of this psalmist from Psalm 77, how he was able to face and overcome that depression or emotional distress in his life. There is one thing that this psalmist learned from his writing of Psalm 77. Remembering God's goodness will put a restless mind to rest. This is one thing that this psalmist learned about God. He remembers all the goodness of God that make his mind to rest. And this person is Asaph. Some Bible scholar says Asaph is a composer, a writer. Some says he was one of the prophet that writing and transcribed the word of David. From here, Asaph poured out his pain, poured out his hurt to God, his sadness to God. Even in his first stanza of this book, of this chapter, he says, I cry out to God, yes, I shout. He said, I shout that God would listen to me. It's a shout of anguish and agony. The Bible didn't say what was Asaph experiencing, what was the trouble with Asaph, but in his first stanza of writing, he said, I cry out to God, calling to God, crying to God, prayer to God. I shout out, even shout out, maybe when he's praying, but that God will listen to him, that God will hear him. Ganon katindi ang sakit na naramdaman niya. When I was in deep trouble, I searched for the Lord, which is a good thing. Search for the Lord, which is what we are doing. If we are in problem, if we have problems, if we have trouble, we seek God. We ask for God. Said, I searched for the Lord all night long. Can you imagine that? All night long, I prayed with hands lifted up towards heaven, but my soul was not comforted. So expecting that God will listen, that God will answer his cry, his prayer, but his soul was not comforted. Where is God? Maybe he's saying, where is God? You see, if you will notice, he say, I was in trouble. I searched all night long. My hands, it's all I, me, my. He focused on himself, looking for God, looking for an answer, but God was not there to say anything. So expecting something from God, expecting an answer from God, but God is silent. And I think of God. Again, it's the right thing. I think of God. And I'm moaned, overwhelmed with longing for His help. The first thing that he do, he think of God because he has a problem. He was in deep distress. He was emotionally distressed and depressed. And he think of God. That's the only way we can do. Think of God. Ask for God's help. And I moan. Can you imagine? Moan. Maybe he's already crying. Beside the bed, kneeling, praying, he is crying, longing, waiting for God. But God is not there to say anything. He even blamed God of his insomnia. You don't let me sleep. I am too distressed even to pray. You see, he blamed God. I cannot sleep because of you. He's blaming God. You don't let me sleep. Literally, when our mind were filled with worries, you cannot sleep well. At night, at deepest night, you'll think of your payment, you'll think of your debt, you'll think of your loan, you think of your work, how long you're going to work, you think of your employer, you think of your family in the Philippines. Definitely, you cannot sleep well. Maybe all the people in their house, they were all snoring. And he's still awake. Ang hirap nun, di ba? Inggit na inggit ka, no? Tapos ikaw, gising na gising. I don't know how many sheep that he has counted. Maybe 5,000 sheep already counted, jumping in the fence, but still cannot sleep. Okay, count again to 10,000, still cannot sleep. He's lying in the bed, his eyes were closed, but his mind is awake. Have you experienced that? I experienced that for many years. When I'm looking after my wife, I experienced that. Cry to God. I cannot sleep well. Cry to God, lifting my hands, praying and crying. Pero wala naman lumalabas na uhog at saka sipon sa akin. Luha lang. Again, another thing that he did. I think of the good old days. So, he's finding comfort. So, the way he can comfort himself, I think of the good old days long since ended. Right is the right thing to do. Diba? When you are stressed, when you are emotionally stressed, you go back, take out your album. Look at your pictures when you are 3 years old. When you are in high school. Diba? Alalahanin mo lahat yun. That's what he did. So I think of the good old days. You look at your picture, last time, sinisipon ka pa lang nung maliit ka pa, nung magkadalaga ka na ngayon, beauty queen ka na. Wow! Hindi ko alam na beauty queen pala ako ngayon. Dati uhugin ako. Dati hinahabol-habol ko yung crush ko. Wala akong ipin. Hindi ako magustuhan. May position ako ngayon. Siya, bahala ka sa buhay mo. Ikaw humabol. See, good old days. Somehow it makes you smile. Right? Good old days. It makes you smile. Kasi maalala mo yun eh. That's what he did. He did that. I think of the good old days long since ended. And yet, when my nights were filled with joyful songs, sabi niya, that was the past. When my nights were filled with joyful songs, I searched my soul and pondered the difference now. So he's looking at the difference between the past and the present. Maybe because last time, he was joyful whenever he sleep. He can sing. You see, it's easy to sing and celebrate when you are blessed. Isn't it? When you are so much blessed, someone sasayaw siya, yeah, hallelujah, when you are blessed. He's doing that because he was blessed. He blessed by God. Maybe when he prayed today, tomorrow, God has an answer. Maybe when he prayed for his family, God has an answer. Maybe when he prayed for a job, God has an answer. But now, where is God? God is silent. That's why I searched my soul and pondered the difference. Now, what happened now? Where is God here from the past? And where is God in the present? God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. But he has a different perception to God because of the pain and emotional distress that he is experiencing at that moment. You see, because he was occupied by himself, the more he occupied by himself, the more he doubt in the kindness of God. Now, he is questioning God. He was confused. He doubted God. And he had so many questions with God. Has the Lord rejected me forever? Where is the Lord? Has the Lord rejected me forever? Will he never again be kind to me? No way. When a person comes to God with a humble heart, with sincerity, no way God will reject him. Again, he has a wrong perception. He doubts God again. Will he never again be kind to me? Definitely, God is kind. God is generous. Even if we are not faithful to God, God is faithful. Sometimes you won't attend Sunday, you won't attend Koinonia, you won't pray, you won't read the Bible, but God's still generous. Maybe that's what He's doing. Last time, what He was doing, because He was so blessed, He's not doing it anymore. That's why He was thinking, has God rejected me because of my wrongdoing? That's His perception. I don't know what He did in the present and from the past. Diba? Sometimes we cry to God. We cry to God asking for a job, asking for help. God gave you. You will promise God, Lord, I will offer my life to you. I will serve you. And yet God gave you something. He promoted you. He increased your salary. But where is your service to God? Maybe that is the reason why He's thinking of it. Will He never again be kind to me? See, He knows, He experienced that, the kindness of God during the past. Maybe now He is totally different. Little by little, He forgotten God. And when he was in trouble and emotional distress, he think of God. Now he is doubting, he's questioning God. Is this unfailing love gone forever? You see? Have His promises permanently failed? Of course not. God is love. He will never be changed. He will love you of who you are and what we are. He will still love you. He will still love us. God is love. Has His promises permanently failed? No. God never break His promise. Did God break the promise, His promise to you, to me, to all of us? No. But He has a different perception to God because of His experience. Has God forgotten to be gracious? No. Because the grace of God is in our everyday life, the grace of God is there. Di ba the Bible says the grace of God is new every morning. When you are in the school, the grace of God is there. When you are in the training, the grace of God is there. When you are at home, the grace of God is there. When you are at work, the grace of God is there. When you are on journey in the MRT, in the bus, the grace of God is there. But this question, has God forgotten to be gracious? No. The grace of God is for everyone. Whether you are a believer or not, the grace of God is always there. Has He slammed the door on His compassion? Maybe He was thinking, God closed the door for me. I cannot find any more favor from God. He closed it. He doesn't want to welcome me. He doesn't want to listen to me. He doesn't want to answer my cry and my prayer. God is compassionate. And then I said, look at this. I said, this is my faith. The Most High has turned His hand against me. From here, this is stanza, 10th stanza, he already accepted and certain that God turned His hand against him. God won't listen to me anymore. God will not give what I'm asking. God will not give me peace and comfort anymore because His hand turns it against me. It's a wrong perception, again, to God. So from first stanza to 10th stanza, His cry and His word is totally a question to God. So I can imagine the face of Asaph while experiencing this emotional distress. It's like this. Malungkot, ano? Because he has a sleepless night. He cannot sleep all night long. That's what he wants when he questioned God. He is hopeless, expecting an answer from God, expecting a word from God, expecting a relief from God, but nothing. He is doubtful. He has a doubtful feeling. He doubts God. He questioned God. From 1 to 10, he questioned God. And his whole life is sadness. Maybe he's thinking that no matter how I will cry to God, no matter how I pray to God, He won't listen to me. God is silent. I cannot feel Him. I cannot feel the presence of God. That was his perception. He cannot feel the presence of God. He cannot hear God. God is silent. God may be silent, but His presence will never be absent. Diba in our prayer, God may be silent. Where is God? But I'm telling you, His presence will never be absent. When you are crying at night, the presence of God is there. When you have a conflict with your family, the presence of God is there. When you have a problems with your work, the presence of God is there. When you have a problem at the school, the presence of God is there. No way that His presence is absent. Wherever you go, wherever we go, the presence of God is there. Does He know you are crying? Yes. Does God knows you have pain in you? Yes. Does God knows your problem? Yes. Does God knows the problem with your family? Yes. Does God knows that your company will never renew your pass? Yes. Does God knows that you're looking for a job for so many months or years? Yes. He knows everything, and His presence is there. He is doing something for us in a perfect time and a perfect place, although He is silent. That was His feeling. So yung mood niya, sadness na. But look at this. You see, He knows the principle. From 1 to 10, He has so many questions to God, but from 11 onwards, He gave all the attributes to God. You see, there's a change of mode here. But then, He said, but then I recall all you have done, O Lord. I remember your wonderful deeds of long ago. Wow! Now what He did is that I recall all you have done, O Lord. Maaring malungkot siya, but when he start recalling the wonderful things that God has done in his life, nag-iba na ang mukha niya ngayon. You see, but then I recall all you have done, O Lord. I remember your wonderful deeds of long ago. Do you remember the good things that God has done in your life? I remember all these things, Lord. You see, He said, they are constantly in my thoughts. I cannot stop thinking anymore about your mighty works. When he starts recalling the goodness of God during the past, he cannot stop thinking everything, every goodness of God has done in his life. They are constantly in my thoughts. That means endless, constantly. It's still in our mind, still in his mind, the good things of God. Diba? If we have good things, if we have so many good things that happens in our life, that was God who gave it to you. All those blessings, God gave it to you. Constantly in our thoughts. We cannot forget it, diba? Can we forget the good things of God? No. Can you imagine giving you a life? There are so many people looking for a job, but God gave you. Can you? Will you forget all these things? Of course, you cannot. They will be constantly in our thoughts. We can even remember those things that happened to us when we are 6 years old and 7 years old. Kahit na how many decades na ang past, you can still remember it. Di ba? That's why the change of mode is different now. Kaya nga sabi ni Rico J. Puno, di ba? Ala-ala nang tayo'y mag-sweetheart pa, namamasyal pa sa orchard, na may hawak, French fries. See? Remember those things. It makes you laugh and smile. Kaya nga nag-change ang mood niya ngayon. He was able to smile because he recalled and remember the good things that God has done in his life. Kaya nga when you are feeling blue, recall the good things that happens in your life. Oh God, he said, oh God, your ways are holy. Is there any God as mighty as you? No one. There's no other God like our God. Ganun ang sinasabi niya. No other God but you alone, O Lord. Oh God, your ways are holy. You see the mood, imagine the feeling of Pham, of Asaph. Now the feeling is different. He enjoys, he's smiling. There's a joy in his heart because he remembers all the good things of God. You are the God of great wonders. He saw and he remembered the miracles that happened in his life. You demonstrate your awesome power among the nations. Even the nations before, he remembers it. Even that happens in Egypt, by your strong arm, he said, you redeem your people, the descendants of Jacob and Joseph. He was not there. Asaph was not there when Moses bring the people of the Israelites into the promised land. Asaph was not there. Maybe he remembered the story that his grandfather or his father tell about it. But he remembers it and said, when the Red Sea saw you, O God, its waters look and trembled, the sea quaked to its very depths. Can you imagine that? Ini-imagine niya yung mga event na nangyari before. Even he remembers how God divided the Red Sea. Wow! So he was so amazed. You are amazing, O God. Can you imagine? You divided the sea, the Red Sea, for your people. He remembers all these things. Kaya nga yung emotional distress niya turn into joy. He can smile now because he knows that God is powerful. He knows that God is sovereign. He knows that there is nothing impossible with God. Amen? Kaya nga when you are in deep trouble, when you are emotionally distressed, when you are full of worries, think of God. Think of God, what He can do from the past. He can also do in the present. The clouds poured down rain, the thunder rumbled in the sky, your arrows of lightning flash. He's imagining it, he remembers it. When God stopped the Egyptians' army, He stopped the Egyptian army so that His people can cross the Red Sea. He remembers that. Your thunder roared from the whirlwind, the lightning lit up the world, the earth trembled and shook. He remembers that. He imagines that. He knows that. That's what he did. Now, his heart were filled with joy because he remembers all these things. Your road, I like this, your road through the sea. He said, your pathway through the mighty waters, a pathway no one knew was there. Can you imagine what he's trying to say? He doesn't know there's a pedestrian lane under the sea because he divided the sea and the dry land so that his people can walk through that. Can you imagine? Sea, water here, and a dry land. Kaya nga sinasabi niya, a pathway no one knew. No one really knew. There's a pathway under the sea. Who made it? It's God. Lord, may pedestrian lane pala dito. Pwede kami tumawid. Imagine that. It was only God. Kaya nga, very happy siya. Talagang his heart, his face was changed because I remember this, Lord. Nothing is impossible to you. You led your people along that road. You see? His presence is there. You led your people along that road like a flock of sheep with Moses and Aaron as their shepherds. God is there. His presence is there. He led His people. He knows that. He knows everything. Kaya nga I can imagine now His face after recalling, after remembering the goodness of God, His face turned to this. Smile na siya. Kaya nga, kita mo smile na. Di ba, is it good to smile? Di ba? Now He is smiling. His sleepless night turned into snoring night. Wow, Lord, I can sleep well now. I got nothing to worry. Because you are there, Lord. Your presence is there. Dinuduyan mo ako, Lord, so I can sleep well. His hopeless feeling turns into hopeful feeling. Before he is doubt, hopeless siya. Nothing will happen. God will not listen. But then, after recalling the goodness of God, his hopeless feeling turns to hopeful feeling. His doubtful feeling, he learned how to trust God. And his sadness turns to gladness. Wow! Kamusta po tayo? Are you feeling blue? Ngayon, Christmas? Don't think about next year. Don't think of everything. Don't fill our hearts with worries. If you're experiencing this, remember God's goodness. And we'll put your restless mind to rest. Di ba? That's what Asaph did when he experienced depression and emotional distress. He remembers God's goodness. After learning from Asaph, what are we going to do? If you are feeling blue, think of a happy moment with God in the past. Think of it. Yung mga happy moment with God, when you smile, when you're having a joy, when you're singing with God, think of it in the past when you are experiencing emotional distress at present. Think of it. Last time, pinapatulog ka ng mahimbing na Lord, He can do it also at present. Why you worry? Last time He blessed you, but don't think. You see, not all our people is with us. If you're experiencing in your darkest night, people were not around, of course, you cannot expect your friends or even your relatives to be there to comfort you. But God's presence is there. He will be the one to comfort you. He will be the one to give you rest, mind. God's presence is there. So if you're feeling blue, think of a happy moment with God in the past.